Hi everyone. I hope everybody is okay, health-wise, yourself as well as all your family members. Today in this video, I'm going to talk about the practical aspects of valuation. Valuation of, first I'll talk about valuation of intangible assets, mainly including goodwill, and then we will come to valuation of shares. Now, you all know what is intangible asset. So intangible asset is the asset which does not have physical existence. So that is why we cannot see those assets, we cannot touch those assets. Now, in intangible assets, one important thing that you need to remember is that whenever you are developing any intangible asset in-house, so you are doing some research, you are doing some innovation, you are trying to find out some new manufacturing technology. So whatever that work you are doing, ultimately it will result in some intangible asset, right? Ultimately it will result in copyright, patents, trademark, whatever it is. Now there is a cost involved in doing all this in-house research and development. Now this whole work of this overall research and development, which ultimately results in intangible asset, is divided in two parts. One is called research phase and the other one is called development phase. So what you need to remember is that whatever expenditure the company is incurring while it is during the research phase, while the work is during the research phase, that expenditure should not be capitalized, which means it should be completely charged off to P&L. It is an expense for that particular period. Why? Because the work is in the research phase, and that is why there is no certainty of the intangible asset coming in reality. There is a lot of uncertainty, there is a lot of risk. And that is why whatever amount you are spending during research phase should be written off. It should be charged off to P&L. Once the work moves into development phase, see, remember, even in the development phase also, your intangible asset is not yet ready. Your work is still not completed. But now the work has advanced to the next phase, which is called development phase. Now in development phase, there is a certainty that yes, our work is going to be successful. The the technology or whatever new method that we are trying to come out with, it is going to be successful. It is technically going to be feasible to complete the project. We will be able to use and then ultimately make and sell products or whatever once this work is over. We have sufficient resources to complete this development phase, and it is possible to measure whatever amount we are going to spend during this development phase. So when the certainty around all these things is there, that means the work has moved into development phase. And when the work moves into development phase, from that time onwards, so when the research phase gets over and the development work starts, from that time onwards, whatever amount we are spending in the organization, that is capitalized. And when I say capitalized, it has to go to the balance sheet now. Now you will not be charging it to P&L. It is not an expense. It is a capital expenditure. And from that time onwards, your cost of intangible assets starts building up. Now that is as far as your overall rule is concerned, as far as the intangible assets go. Now, from the approach point of view, for the valuation of the intangible assets, there are three approaches. One is called cost approach, and cost approach, as the name itself says, whatever amount you are spending for the development of that intangible asset, that will be considered as the cost of the intangible asset. Whenever you show in the balance sheet, at what value you will show that intangible asset. So whatever amount you have spent, either you have spent or you have purchased, whatever, that is the cost of the intangible asset, which will ultimately go in the balance sheet. That is one approach. The second approach could be market value approach. So the market value approach says that, and typically when it is not possible to measure the cost incurred for the development of the intangible asset, you may follow market value approach. So market value approach says that whatever is, whatever similar transaction happened in the market for this, purchase of the intangible asset, that is taken as the base for showing the value of your intangible asset in the balance sheet. So the value is derived basis reference to similar transactions that have occurred in the recent past in the similar markets. That becomes your guiding factor. The third approach could be economic value approach. Let us say that the cost is not measurable, there are no similar transactions that have happened in the market. Then what to do? So then you will follow economic value approach. Economic value approach says that, see, ultimately when you are developing this intangible asset, your organization is going to get some benefits in future. Now, what is the value of those benefits that you are going to get in future? Calculate the present value of those benefits. And when we say benefits, we are primarily talking in terms of the profits. So because of the development of this technology, we are expecting that, let us say in future, our annual profit is going to increase by, say, 20 lakh rupees. And we expect this benefit to continue for next X number of years. So that 20 lakh multiplied by X number of years, whatever is that additional benefit you are going to get from this technology or from this intangible asset, calculate the present value because you are doing the valuation today. So calculate the present value of that, and that becomes the amount which will appear in the balance sheet. So that is called economic value approach. So it is a sum of the discounted future cash flows or earnings that are going to arise from such asset. Of course, it will be possible only if these cash flows or earnings are separately measurable, identifiable. So these are the overall rules for the approaches for the valuation of intangible assets. And in case of tangible assets, we use the word depreciation. In case of intangible assets, we use the word amortization. And usually it is presumed that the useful life of the intangible asset will not exceed 10 years from the time when it is available to use. Now coming to within intangible assets, there is something, one important intangible asset is called as goodwill. Now, when it comes to goodwill, what you need to remember is that any internally generated goodwill is not to be shown in the books of accounts. So what do I mean by internally generated goodwill? Let us say that your organization is in the business for last, say, 10 years. Now, of course, being in the business for last 10 years, it has earned some reputation in the industry, in the market. Now, suddenly one fine day, in the morning, the head of the owner of the organization gets up and says, wow, we have goodwill in the market. So let us start showing the goodwill in the balance sheet. That is not allowed. That is called internally generated goodwill. So internally generated goodwill is not to be shown in the books of account. And this is about the goodwill. I'm not talking about the other intangible assets. Now, so which goodwill can be shown in the balance sheet? Whatever goodwill is paid for. So for example, when you are taking over someone else's business and you feel that other business has goodwill, and that is why you are paying extra amount to that organization owners for taking over their business. So that extra amount is nothing but the amount towards goodwill of that organization. So that is paid for. There is actually a cost involved, and that goodwill you can show in the balance sheet. Now, when it comes to showing in the balance sheet, so let us take that same example. That how to decide what is the goodwill of that organization, because goodwill is intangible. How can you value it? You can't take this goodwill like a machinery and go to some shop and ask that shopkeeper that tell me what is the value of this goodwill. So there needs to be some method to decide the value of goodwill. And there are 4 methods. One is called average profit method. The second one is super profit method. The third one, which is related to super profit method, and that is called annuity. And the fourth one is called capitalization method. So I'll explain these methods one by one. So the first one, which is called average profit method. Now, what is average profit method? Let me first explain the logic to you. That when we say firm X has goodwill in the market as compared to any other firm in the industry. Basically, we are talking about the goodwill of the firm from the point of view of the profit. See, only when the firm is profit making, you will say that this firm has goodwill in the market, right? Otherwise, loss making firm, how can it have? It is illogical to say that the firm is loss making and the firm is having goodwill in the market. So that is the goodwill is measured in terms of profits. Now I am explaining average profit method. So average profit method, the logic of this method says that if you are talking about firm X and you are trying to value the goodwill of firm X. Now, if you become the owner of X, which is already existing, what will happen? You will start sharing the profit of that firm from day one, because the firm is already there. It is already making profit. And once you become the owner, you will start sharing the profit from day one. You will be entitled to the profit of the firm from day one. Whereas, if you start any other new business, in the new business, very unlikely that you will start having profit from day one, because there are lots of fixed costs involved. So let us say that it takes 3 years for you to start earning the business if you start business newly. So now compare this firm X versus you start your own business newly. So what is the additional advantage that this firm X has? The first 3 years profit of that firm is the additional benefit for firm X, because if you start new business for 3 years, you are not going to get profit. And whereas instead of that, if you join the existing firm for those first 3 years, you will have profit. That's the additional benefit of firm X. And that is nothing but goodwill. So that is what is your average profit method. So let me share the screen and tell you, how we can do the valuation. So in your average profit method, your goodwill is number of years purchase of average profit of last X number of years. So let us say that in 2018, 2019 and 2020, the firm had made a profit of, say, these are the profits made by the firm. And you have decided that goodwill will be 3 years purchase of, or say, let me say 4 years purchase of average profit of last 3 years. So we'll literally go by the statement. Goodwill will be 4 years purchase of average profit of last 3 years. So you have decided to take the average profit of last 3 years. Why? Because 1 year's profit may not be representative. There may be some abnormal situations, some fluctuations that have happened, and that is why you take average. Basically, the idea of taking average is to even out the fluctuations, to calculate the normal profit, basically. So you have decided to take the average of last 3 years, and you are estimating that any new firm, if you start, it is not going to make profit for first 4 years. So that is why 4 years profit is going to be the goodwill of this firm. So now what you will do is, we'll take the average. So sum of these three divided by 3. That is your average profit. Let us put that in 0 decimals. And this is the average profit and average annual profit, right? Let me write the word annual also. So this is the average annual profit. So average annual profit into 4 years, that becomes the goodwill of the firm. Now this is the goodwill of the entire firm. Now here I talked about simple average, but average in mathematics can be either simple average or weighted average both. Now usually when you take weighted average for later years, usually you take higher weightage because the chances of this profit continuing in future are higher as compared to the chances of this profit continuing in future, because this is 2-year-old number, whereas this is the latest number, right, which reflects comparatively the latest situation. So let us say that I have decided to consider weights as these. So total 100%. So if I calculate weighted average profit, then what will I do? So obviously I'll calculate the product, which is weights multiplied by profit. So the sum of the products, which is this, divided by sum of weights. Obviously the sum of weights is 1, 100% meaning 1. So this divided by 1. So now your weighted average profit, earlier what we calculated was simple average. Weighted average annual profit is, and then you have to take 4 years profit. So this into 4. That becomes the goodwill of the firm. Right? So this is what you do when you follow average profit method. Now the next method is called super profit method. Now super profit method says, I'll first explain the logic. That see, in average profit method, what did we compare? We compared the existing firm versus the new firm that you are going to start or that you may start. But super profit method says it is not a right comparison, because ideally you should compare the firm for which you don't want to do the valuation of goodwill with the other existing firms in the industry, not the new firms which you are going to start, because that is not a right apples to apples comparison. And that is what is the logic of super profit method. So super profit method says that if you're talking about firm X, now when will you say that firm X has goodwill in the market? Purely in terms of profit, I'm saying that when your X is earning profits or is likely to earn profits higher than what the other similar size firms are earning. So if we say that other similar size firms are earning profit of say 1 lakh rupees every year, and firm X is making 1,30,000 rupees profit every year. So this 30,000 extra profit per year is the additional benefit for firm X for whatever reason. And this extra benefit, for how many years it will continue? It will not continue for infinite period of time, right? Sometimes, at some point of time, the competitors will catch up with you. So let us say you expect that this extra profit is likely to continue for 2 years. So this 30,000 extra profit in our example multiplied by 2 years, that becomes the goodwill of this firm. So let me once again share the screen and explain to you how do we calculate. So now I'm talking about super profit. So now in super profit method, what we say is, what is goodwill? Your average annual profit, or first let me write in simple terms. Your super profit, that is the extra profit. Super profit is the extra profit multiplied by number of years. For how many years you are expecting this extra profit will continue. Correct? That's your goodwill. Now the question is how to calculate super profit. So super profit is nothing but average annual profit minus the normal profit in the industry. That's the extra profit. Whatever is your average annual profit versus what is the normal profit in the industry, that gap is nothing but your super profit multiplied by number of years. Now, how to calculate number of years? That is an estimation. So that will be given in the question. Now, average annual profit we saw how to calculate, right? In earlier average profit method, we saw how to calculate average profit. Again, here it can also be simple average or weighted average. Now the question is how to calculate normal profit, because there is nothing, no ready-made number called normal profit. Normal profit is the profit which the other similar size firms in the industry earn. So now there is a formula to calculate average normal profit. So I'm just elaborating the formula. Average annual profit minus capital employed multiplied by normal rate of return in the industry. Your capital employed, because you are talking about similar size firms. So whatever is the capital employed in the firm, and usually because we calculate goodwill from shareholders point of view, when you say goodwill, here you actually take shareholders funds, because capital employed is slightly a misleading term, because capital employed will include debt also, right? But here you are talking, see, the benefit of goodwill ultimately goes to whom? To the owners. So we are primarily talking about this whole thing from owner's point of view. So that is why you will take shareholders funds. So shareholders funds multiplied by normal rate of return in the industry, that on an average, what is the average rate, normal rate of return that the owners are getting in this market. So that becomes your normal profit, and multiplied by average annual profit minus, I said, shareholders fund multiplied by normal rate of return, which is called NRR, multiplied by number of years. That's your goodwill. So let us take one question. So let us take the last 3 years profit, same as earlier. Normal rate of return in the industry is say 15%. And I'm just giving some information. Total assets, okay. So these are the 3 years profits. This is your normal rate of return. These are your assets, and these are your third party liabilities in the balance sheet. Now, and it says goodwill is to be valued based on super profit uh, 2 years okay. Wait. Oh. Now let us talk about simple average profit here. So let us go as per the formula. So average profit will be how much? Divided by 3. Correct? Now let us calculate the normal profit. Now, what is shareholders funds? Now you may wonder, where are shareholders funds given? Now remember, what is shareholders funds? Shareholders funds can be calculated in two ways: either share capital plus reserves and surplus, right, net of fictitious assets, or total assets. And when I say total assets, it is fixed total non-current assets and current assets both put together, excluding any fictitious assets. So assume these total assets do not include any fictitious assets, and minus the all third-party liabilities. And when I say third-party liabilities, current liabilities as well as non-current liabilities both. So what remains in the balance sheet? Shareholders funds. So shareholders funds can be calculated in two ways: share capital plus reserves and surplus minus fictitious assets, or total assets, that is non-current assets plus current assets without taking fictitious assets, minus all third-party liabilities, including current as well as non-current liabilities. So what remains is your shareholders funds. So your shareholders funds will be equal to total assets minus correct. These are your shareholders funds, and your normal rate of return is 15%. So that means shareholders funds into the normal rate will give you the normal profit. So this into, right? So that is your normal. Now see, for the similar size firm, it is expected that the profit will be 12 lakh something, whereas your firm is making a profit of this. So the difference between the two is the extra profit that your firm is making. So this is nothing but your super profit. And then it says goodwill is 2 years purchase, because you expect that this extra profit is likely to continue for next 2 years. So this into 2, that is the goodwill of the firm. All right. So this is how we calculate the goodwill based on super profit method. So we have seen in this video two methods: average profit method and super profit method. We'll continue in the next video, wherein we will talk about annuity method and then the capitalization method. So hope you have understood these two methods well. So see you in the next video.